Hi everyone, Dawn here from the International College of Energy Healing, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you the things that I wished I'd have known when I started to see and feel spirits. So this video was inspired by a recent Reiki student who shared how alone that she felt when she'd started having spiritual experiences herself. She didn't know where to turn to for help, and consequently it had a negative impact on her. So I'm hoping that this video provides you with support if you're in a similar situation. I can totally relate to those feelings of being alone and not sure where to turn, because when I had my spiritual experience, it really happened out of the blue, and it was intense and it left me frightened. I described what happened to me more fully in my video, My Journey into Mediumship, which I will link below. So I was in bed in the dark, and I felt like that I had a pair of lips on my ear, and I heard a loud creepy noise like two wires crackling. Then the bed started to shake, and that was enough for me, and I ran out of the room and down the stairs. It was very frightening, and I never remembered it happening before. And after that, my psychic senses increased, and I started to see and feel spirit around me a lot. It was a crazy, intense and frightening time. So when I say I understand just how isolating this can be, I really do. Now, that was a long time ago now, and I've learned so much about spirit communication and myself on this during the journey. So I'm going to share with you the things that I'd have found most helpful to have known when it happened to me. So having spontaneous spirit experiences can be a shock to the system. And you can feel like you're under attack or you're losing your mind even. So the first thing that I want to say is that you're probably not going mad. Now I say probably, as there are mental health conditions that do involve hallucinations. However, the many people that I've talked to and helped haven't been having some sort of mental breakdown, or they're not mentally ill. What they are experiencing is real and impactful, as well as potentially life-changing. So I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I really can't speak from that place of clinical knowledge. All I can do is to speak from my own experiences and the understanding that I've gained, but also from the experience of the hundreds of people that I've talked to, mentored and helped along the way. If you're at all worried that you might be having a mental breakdown, please do seek medical help first and foremost. Now, if you're interested in understanding a bit more about hallucinations and the paranormal phenomenon, I can recommend a book by Dr. Manuel Matas called The Borders of Normal. It's written in 2017 by Dr. Matas, who is a clinical psychiatrist with over 40 years of clinical experience, and someone who had his own spiritual experiences which led him on a spiritual quest. In the introduction to his book, he says, and I quote, "My intention in writing this book is to normalize the paranormal and to show that phenomena we label as abnormal or paranormal are actually normal." And I 100% agree with this intention. And in my own way, I've been working to do this also with the people that I've been working with. Now, one of the things that I think is the most impactful is the perceived stigma involved in seeing or hearing or feeling things that others cannot. My husband teases me and he says that I was normal when he met me. And I think that this is the crux of what most people's reluctance to share what is happening to them is. So prior to their awakening, they were perfectly normal and not part of anything metaphysical, spiritual or ghostly. And this reluctance in sharing their experiences to their friends and family contributes significantly to the feelings of isolation. So over the years, I've seen many people fearing being judged or thought of as strange. People reach out to me and they'll whisper that they're seeing or hearing spirits, and nobody knows, especially not spouses, partners, family and friends. So if this is you, I do understand your reluctance to share. There are many cultural, religious, and inherent beliefs that make this a difficult topic for many. Even in my own family, there were members who were not receptive to what I was experiencing because of their religious convictions. Our family and friends can be a great source of comfort. So even if it's finding a couple of trusted people who you can feel confident won't judge you, it will be a positive step forward if you can reach out. So it's something to think about for sure. The next thing that I wish I'd have known at the time was not to be fearful about what I was going through. Fear can be a debilitating emotion and one that can take our power away from us. It stops us from thinking and acting rationally or even taking any action at all. I know that I've said this in previous videos, but fear is not your friend. It can make us vulnerable and feed the activity and experiences we're trying not to have. So once you get over the shock of having your first couple of spirit experiences, you'll want to stop feeling frightened by them. The two things that eventually clicked for me, which I'd wished I'd known earlier, were these. So closing down and opening up and facing my fears. So let's start with closing down and opening up. It wasn't until I was deep into my psychic development that I'd ever heard about opening up and closing down spiritually. And when I found out about it, it was like a giant aha moment for me. And I remember saying at the time, you don't have to be open 24 hours a day. That was incredulous to me, because that's what it felt like. Without any warning, Spirit could send me a message or show me something, and it was having a profound effect on me. It was hard to concentrate on my job and my life with the amount of incoming mail that I was receiving. What a revelation to know that I had more control about it than I thought. With practice, I learned I could turn down the volume and set aside my spirit radar for a while, only to open it up back when I wanted to engage in spirit communication. And this was literally life-changing. Now, what I'm about to share isn't 100% foolproof, but it does work the majority of times. There are instances when Spirit's desire to communicate is so strong that the message can still get through. But for the most part, it does work. Now, I'm sure there are many different variations of opening up and closing down. However, what I am sharing with you are the techniques and the ways that I was taught and that I've found to work for me. So firstly, let's talk about vibration. It's widely accepted that spirits vibrate at a higher rate than humans. Our physical body is dense and more grounded, and spirits are pure non-physical energy, and they're lighter and have a higher vibrationary rate. Because of this, we can use it to our advantage when we open up and we close down. So as I'm preparing myself for spirit communication, I spend a short time in meditation, allowing myself to connect with the non-physical version of me, which is light and high vibration. It's hard to explain, but I connect through my breath, and with each deep inhalation, I feel myself becoming lighter. I also visualize the chakras that are used in spirit communication to become more fully open. So starting at my solar plexus, then moving to my throat, my third eye, and my crown chakra. I visualize each becoming fully open and connected. When I first started to practice opening up, it would take me a little while to do it, but now it only takes a few breathing rounds to get there. Now, closing down was the life-changing process. I never realised that you could control the communication as effectively as you can. So I was taught it is a process that you let go of the spiritual energy that's been built up. So with each breath, I release the higher vibration energy that I'm holding. I reset my vibration back to the physical world. My mentor and teacher who taught me this technique explained that it's important to let this spiritual energy go and to ground, to center our energy back to the physical plane. I have to agree with her. It's been really helpful thing to do. So in this process, I imagine my crown chakra closing over, not fully, but so that it's not as wide. And then I do the same with my third eye chakra, my throat and my solar plexus, as these are integral to spirit communication and the areas that I open up when I want to work with spirit. I also declare that I'm closed to spirit communication. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with spirit communication, try these simple techniques for closing down and opening back up. As I mentioned earlier, I've mentored and taught many people to develop their own psychic and mediumship abilities. Often they're reluctant to close them down as they're fearful that they will lose their connection. So please be assured you won't, as you have an effective way to open back up. Closing down is a healthy thing to do, as it allows you to concentrate on the aspects of life that we need to pay attention to. It also ensures that you're energetically balanced. Focusing solely on your third eye, pursuing spirit communication, it leaves your other chakra centers energetically unbalanced. So as tempting as it might be to spend your days communicating with spirit, you have to remember that you're having a human experience and you need to be focused in this dimension in equal measure. Controlling your spirit communication is also about facing your fears and not running away from it. I know that at first it's disconcerting to see, feel and hear spirit, and it might even be frightening, especially when you see things in your bedroom at night. And believe you me, I know what that's like. I used to sleep with earplugs and an eye mask so that I could ignore them. And I found that ignoring them doesn't work. But setting boundaries does. So I want you to remember that you have full control over how and when communication occurs. Think about it in terms of switching your cell phone to do not disturb or activating the voice messages on your home phone. You're signaling to anyone that wants to connect that you're offline. And I actually use that as a way to describe the process. I say, I'm going offline for a while. So at night, I like to go offline. Unless I'm on a paranormal investigation, then I am open for business and actively seeking spirit communication. So as I say, for the most part, spirits do respect these boundaries that you set. Occasionally, some don't for a variety of reasons. It could be that there's something really, really important for me to know right now and then, or the spirit's desire to connect outweighs their willingness to respect my boundaries. And sometimes the spirit just doesn't respect them at all. Although those are few and far between, I can assure you. It's important that if you do go offline, you find some time to go online. In my experience, totally ignoring spirit will result in the communication getting stronger. I was told by my spirit guide that years of ignoring their gentle communication attempts resulted in a very rude awakening for me. So this means that you'll want to carve out some time in your week to open up and to communicate with spirit. Now, psychic protection is another thing that I wish I was told about early on in my journey. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, as I did shoot a video specifically dedicated to the practice, and I do recommend that you watch that, and I'll link it below. Suffice to say, protecting our energy is integral as an important practice for you to get into the habit of. My next piece of I wish I had known that at the time advice is when you ask for a mentor or a teacher, they'll be provided to you. You just have to stay open to the process and pay attention, because they often come in all sorts of curious ways. There's an old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that is exactly my experience after I'd had my first few spirit experiences. Learning how to control and finesse your communication with spirit is an important part of your journey. And finding the right teacher or mentor is critical. There are many different types of psychics and mediums out there. Some better than others, and some that really shouldn't be teaching. So my advice to you is ask the universe for the right teacher for you and stay open to how that person comes into your experience. I would also do my homework in terms of, what the experiences of the person are before you commit. Now, sitting in a development circle is a great way to develop your mediumship. If it's run well by an experienced medium, you'll grow in confidence and your abilities quickly. You may have to look around for a good circle. Most circles that you're able to join are called open circles, and that means that anyone can sit in the circle with no requirements to attend regularly. So that's a good place to start, but because of the changing membership, it's one that probably won't be able to support your development long term. You'll want to be invited to sit in closed circles. This means that the members of the circle are consistent and commit to regular attendance and practice. Because of this, the trust and the energy builds up between the membership, and you can practice more complicated things. There are also courses, books, and internet resources that you can check out, and use your intuition about whether or not they're the right things for you to be doing. You have wisdom at your fingertips, so be guided by it. Teachers also show up in our lives informally. I've had individuals enter my life for a short time, even as short as a single conversation, and they impart something that is critical for my continued development. They may suggest a book to read or a person to reach out to, or share a practice for you to try. I've had so many crazy stories about these teachers just appearing in my life. Probably the most crazy one is early on in my development. I was attending a conference for work, and I was partnered with a fellow attendee I'd never met before, but we clicked immediately, and we spent the next 2 days of the conference together. Her knowledge was impressive, and she suggested books to read that would be helpful for me and activities to try out. So when the conference ended, we vowed to stay in touch, and I told her that I'd follow up by email. I was confident that I could find her contact details from the conference register. However, despite looking, her name wasn't on there. In fact, when I spoke to several attendees about the woman I described her, they couldn't recall her. They couldn't even recall me spending time with her. It was like she never existed, and I believe that to be true. Well, not in a physical form anyway. I think she was a non-physical energy who came to provide insight and guidance along my journey. So stay open, you never know. But always remember to balance your development work with living life. So that means finding time to give your best in work, best with your family and friends, and to do the things that you enjoy. It really is all about balance. And your development might go in stages. So what I found happening to me is that there would be intense periods of growth and then a plateau where nothing much happened. It was frustrating, but I learned it was an important part of the process. The plateau, it was integration. It was a period where you could integrate what you'd learned and known, and it shouldn't be rushed. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about ethics. Now, this is a big topic for me and one that's close to my heart. But for now, let's just concentrate on the ethics of sharing spirit communication. As psychics and mediums, we're privy to information that potentially a person may not want to be known, or in fact is not even aware of. Just because we know or we think we know something, it doesn't mean that we should say it. So much harm can come from sharing everything that you're getting, or from sharing something with an unsuspecting recipient. I call it guerrilla psychic attack. You know what I mean? It's when somebody comes up to you and says, you have a huge angel behind you. Now you've just been minding your own business, maybe choosing an orange in a supermarket, when this person comes up to you. Maybe they have a message from your dear departed dad. Maybe they can sense danger around you. Whatever it is, I don't think that we should be sharing what we get from non-physical spirit without it being asked for. Who are we to determine if it's right for the person or not? And this can be damaging for a person, and I've had both personal experiences with this And I've counselled many people who've had such things happen to them, which have left them distraught. Now, I'll hear mediums say that they're in service to spirit, but I think that we are of service to both spirit and the person. Just because a spirit wants us to pass on a message, it doesn't mean that we should, or even if it's in the best interests of the person. We assume that because a person is now in non-physical, that they're omnipotent or somehow all-knowing. But some spirits are still pursuing their own agenda. So they might have a strong desire to connect with a person, but it may not be what the person wants or is ready for. And this was brought home to me as I did just that, and I lost a friend in the process. So I was at a party and her husband's dad was bugging me to pass a message on to his son. I was showing off, I guess. So I told him that his dad was here and had a message, and I went on to share the information. But it wasn't what he wanted to hear. In fact, his relationship with his dad wasn't a good one, and he was not ready to reconcile. The communication was not wanted nor appreciated, and because of that, my friendship dissolved away. It was a big lesson for me. So as you're developing and having more spirit communication, please do not fall into the trap of sharing everything that comes through. I know it's exciting and you just want to share, but ask yourself, who am I serving in sharing this? Is it me in my desire for confirmation, or perhaps my ego self? Or perhaps the sharing of this information, I'm taking away a person's right to choose if they want to hear from the spirit or not. So I just shot the video that you're watching now, and I thought I would just let you in on something that was happening to me while I was shooting it. So I became very, very aware that spirit was close. It was standing, listening. All of the hair on my head all stood on end, and I felt their presence in my body. And it was definitely one of my guides that I don't often have a conversation or communication with. His name is Poe, and he is one of my guides that really kind of works towards my spiritual evolution, and definitely guides my work with other people, helping and supporting them. So it was absolutely lovely to experience Poe standing alongside me, sharing some of these important messages to you, and I really got this sense of approval and just peace, really, that all is well. All is well. The right thing is happening for you at the right time, and embrace it. Don't be fearful. Always come from that place of love. That was another thing that absolutely came across to me. Just this immense feeling of love and compassion for us. So I just wanted to shoot a little bit of an extra bit to share that with you, because I'm always very honoured and blessed when Poe does make an appearance, and wanted to let you know, because I think his messages are really important for you. So if you're somebody who is experiencing spontaneous spirit communication and don't know what to do next, I hope that this video has served you. As always, please feel free to comment below or drop me an email at the email address in the description box. Please consider subscribing, liking and sharing the video if you think it'll help others. Ta-ta for now.